Today on the News and Why It Matters, top story leading all of the headlines today. Glenn Beck is back in studio.
Shut up.
Yay!
It's a rare appearance.
So excited that you're back.
Yeah.
We've also got Jeffrey Epstein, the Clinton body count, and what?
No. I'm not making fun of that. Clinton body count?
We've got a lot to get into with that.
We do. It might kill you for it, but.
I would like to state, just before we start the show, to state very quickly, none of us know anything about the Clintons.
No.
None of us. Nothing.
No.
Not a word.
And I love the
fact.
mob. I love the mob, if they existed.
Love them. Also, the Democrats talk gun control in Iowa. Got a lot coming up, and it starts right now. Welcome to the News and Why It Matters. I am Sarah Gonzalez, point of personal privilege. She, her. I will just let everyone know that right now.
Thank you.
Today, before we get started, I want to thank our sponsor, American Financing.
American Financing is a company that I've worked with for a very long time. 10 years? Yeah, we're past the 10-year mark
a decade.
of the great meltdown of '08. They called me. They wanted me to do advertising for them, and I said, I don't believe in any of you guys. You're all scams. Call me after the collapse. Most people didn't even believe me about the collapse. They did. They said, no, we believe it's coming and we're not part of it. I said, call me after the collapse. We'll see how you did. Well, their clients didn't have a problem because they just won't put you into a risky loan. They're not doing it. They're not motivated by having your business and getting you into some sort of loan that the bank is trying to shove down your throat. They work for you. They're on salary. They don't get commissions from the banks. That's the key difference. Family owned and operated. They'll serve you coast to coast. They have you covered at American Financing. Go to AmericanFinancing.net or call 800-906-2440. It's AmericanFinancing.net.
All right, Glenn. So Jeffrey Epstein apparently
I didn't see this coming.
Committed no one did.
No.
Committed suicide.
I want to show you something. Now, there's a lot of people that wanted to see him dead. Okay, and we can go on that list. But I thought it would be easier to show you this picture. Do we have the picture?
Do we have?
Yeah, okay. This is Jeb. He's from Nebraska. Okay. He's the one guy that didn't have anything to do with Jeffrey Epstein and didn't care. He's the only one. So, I mean, the number of people that wanted this guy dead is the biggest number. I mean, since Jeffrey Dahmer, do you know anybody that was this unpopular and with everybody? And then on top of it, I don't know of anyone, except maybe Guy Fawkes, that had more people of power wanting him dead. And we're surprised. My wife, I land at the airport on Saturday afternoon. And I'd been on the plane for like 16 hours or so. And I said, what's been happening? And she said, Jeffrey Epstein committed suicide. And I said, no. It took them this long to kill him. It took him this long to kill himself. There's a lot of weird things about it. But the speculation on who done it, I mean, let's leave it to Clue. Let's leave it to the game Clue. I mean... So
you're not a believer in the hashtag Clinton body count? I've got...
No.
Look.
I know.
I've got all these names that are totally sourced.
There's 400. There's at least 400 people the Clintons have had killed. And, you know, there's things in there that you're like, wow, maybe you look into that one, but I think people have. Yeah. And so there's nothing to the Clinton, at least in my opinion, nothing to the Clinton body count thing. But as Pat said, I'm willing to accept that the Clintons didn't have Jeffrey Epstein killed. But you could say that about 100 people. This is, when he went in, remember I said, this is like, what's his face, Whitey, whatever that guy's name. Whitey Bulger, when he got shivved, when he went to prison.
Nobody surprised on that?
What a surprise. This is a guy who was a pedophile, child molesting pervert that was hanging out with all the most powerful people in the world. You're surprised? I'm surprised it just didn't happen with a shiv.
Yeah. Stu? You are not on the conspiracy theory train.
No, I'm not.
Wait. Can we change? Can we clarify one thing?
Mm-hmm.
I'm not on that train, but I wouldn't be surprised if you had evidence that someone had him killed. It wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah, the greatest
but
thing
there's no evidence.
Right.
Yeah, greatest thing about forming an opinion on a topic is you can always wait for evidence. You don't have to judge it today. Maybe we just see what the investigation says. I mean, everyone's like,
long time
oh, it's all about the Clintons, and I know. And the Clintons are like, Trump's tweeting about them. Well, Trump has a little bit of something to say about what gets investigated and how it gets investigated, doesn't he? He is the president of the United States. So if there's something there, I feel like there's a good chance, Trump may be able to finagle a way to find out about it. And, the guy's dead, so it's not like there's like an urgent deadline here. Let's just look at the facts and see what it comes back as. I mean, I know it's not as fun.
It's Prince Andrew.
But
it was Prince. I know it was Prince Andrew. Just look at him.
I would like to say, Trump did retweet our friend Terrence Williams.
Yeah, I like that Terrence got the vote
and
for it.
it was a funny video. But I think we can all agree at this table, poor taste to retweet something like that as the president. Aaron?
It's odd. It's probably not helpful to do that.
I think it's
Aaron,
smart.
that was very
It's a hot take right there.
That was a very political answer.
It's really
But I mean,
odd.
the thing that fuels these conspiracies is the unanswered questions. So let's just wait and get the answers. Let's figure out what are these irregularities that I think Attorney General Barr talked about, and then we won't have to worry about these so much. I mean, there's always going to be people that believe the 400-person list that you have there.
Let me say this. There's two reasons why this was tweeted by Donald Trump. One, it's funny and everybody was thinking about it, and that's what everybody on the left was thinking. Donald Trump had this guy killed. On the right, everyone was thinking, it's the Clintons. He is known for saying what people are thinking. Whether you agree with him or not, that's what he says. So that's one reason why he tweeted it. It's perfectly in character. The other is he was throwing everybody off the trail because he did it. This is what you'll hear from the left. Because he did it and he knew all about it. So what he did is he immediately said, look over there, so he could hide everything here.
This is a great example of like tribal politics, though, isn't it? I mean, it's like, there is just as much a reason to believe that Donald Trump would have something to do with this than Bill Clinton, right? I mean, like the left has had these Trump-Epstein conspiracy theories for a very long time as well, and theirs has to do with the guy who gave Epstein the sweetheart deal was inexplicably hired as the labor secretary of the United States. Like, no one looks at Acosta as like, oh, there's a labor secretary. What was he doing? He was a prosecutor. What was he doing? He was a district attorney in Miami. Oh, that's the perfect role for a labor secretary. That was a bizarre choice at the beginning, and of course they make it out to seem like it's a big conspiracy, right? Like, and of course, obviously the Clinton one was already built in from, I believe, about 50% of all internet traffic in 1996 was the Clinton body count being passed around by email. So the thing has been around for a long time. I mean, you go back to that, Ken Starr looked into a lot of those things. Ken Starr, the guy who got Bill Clinton impeached, and he found nothing. When it came to those things. I mean, he had kind of a motivation, which shows that he would be critical of Clinton if given the opportunity, and even he found nothing.
He'd have you think.
Right, yes, there you go. Maybe he was tied into it too. Who knows?
Everybody's going to see what they want to see in this.
Yeah, and you know what's weird is I don't see Donald Trump or Bill Clinton knowingly having sex with a sex slave of 16 years old.
Really?
Okay? No, I don't see either one of them doing
endorsement.
Yeah. But we're willing to not only say that about another human being, we're also saying, and then he had the guy killed. I mean, let's look at where we're at as people.
But okay, so you don't even
wow.
think, but you don't even think that it was any sort of deep state, you don't even think it was someone in a position of power higher than the Clintons. You just think it was just whoever it was at the prison.
Let me give you this scenario.
I want to make sure you're
totally
assuming he's murdered, and now we're just only assuming on who murdered him.
We are escalating.
Yes, that's where we're at.
Let me give you this. If I were trying to destroy the United States of America, I would probably have just as much reason to have that guy killed because of this. Because it shows Don't trust anyone. You can't trust the jail system. You can't trust the FBI. You can't trust the Justice Department. You can't trust the president. You can't trust former presidents. You can't trust anyone. Well, that is the recipe that if I was an anarchist, I would be praying for. Mm-hmm. Why is no one saying, you know what, could be the socialist anarchists? Why not? They had just as much reason to do it if anybody did it. This is ridiculous and harmful to speculate on.
What if it was Russia, though?
then the left will definitely believe it.
Russia is a good example.
Yeah.
Putin is a guy who does kill people, okay?
Oh, yeah.
He could have done something like this. I don't want to say that our prisons could be knowingly co-opted by Russia, but it's just as plausible.
I mean, look, we don't know what it is yet. And I, honestly, like, would I be stunned to find, I mean, there's a lot of weird circumstances around this. How they didn't think it was a good idea to keep him under 24-hour surveillance is completely inexplicable and does lead any normal, rational person to ask questions about this particular thing. But we're going to have an investigation. We'll see what comes out, and then we'll be able to judge it with a little bit more information. But just to take I know this is an outlying example here, Sarah, but let's just say crazily he actually hung himself because he didn't like the outlook of his life, considering he had molested like hundreds of women and was going to be in jail, and God only knows what was going to happen to him every time he went to take a shower for the next 30 years of his life. Let's just say he killed himself. Incompetence breeds these freaking theories. It's incompetence, like the fact that 5 or 6 things had to be so incompetently done that the average normal person is questioning what the hell happened there. Of course, people are going to fill in these things with conspiracy theories, and I think, like, you know, it's a nice it's a nice advertisement to maybe attempt to do these things competently. Really, like, think about what's going on here, because any idiot knew the guy's already been in suicide watch. He already tried to hang himself reportedly, and now this can happen. I mean, it's unfair to the victims. It's unfair to the justice system. You know, and now the one person who's gone and doesn't have to deal with it anymore is the one person who should be dealing with it.
Jeffrey Dahmer, everyone knew he was a target in jail. They had him in extra custody for a very long time. I think while he was, while they shivved him. Same thing with Whitey. You didn't know that Whitey was going to be shivved? Of course he was going to be shivved. Happened there. It happens. It happens.
Yeah. All right, back in a minute.
Maybe we killed him. And we're covering it up right now with this broadcast.
That was the point.
The Democrats spent a lot of time this weekend in Iowa giving their speeches, talking to all of the people.
Trying to make sure they were seen someplace so they couldn't be tracked back to Epstein.
It's true. They don't know anything about it.
I was in Iowa at the fair.
A lot of their speeches, of course, focused a lot on gun control. Let's watch.
Senator Sanders, if elected president of the United States, how will you prioritize gun safety in your administration?
I love that he stands up.
Let me begin by thanking you, Giovanna. John, thank you for the work you're doing, and thank everybody for your efforts in taking on one of the most dangerous and powerful political organizations in this country, and that is the NRA.
Oh, my party's got to get out of the defensive crouch that has us thinking that we're in the minority on these issues. America is with us in demanding common sense gun safety. Universal background checks? 94, I've never heard of an issue that 94% of Americans agree on.
How would you address unintentional shootings by children?
Thank you for that. Can I give you a hug? Would that be appropriate?
Oh, God, this is cringe-laden.
Of the people.
Would that be appropriate?
At least he's asking for
I have
consent.
a 6 and 3-year-old boy. I was imagining it was one of them that got shot, and the other saw it. I'm so sorry. When there's a gun in the household, you're more likely to have a child get shot or the owner get shot than to kill, let's say, an intruder into the house. Those are just numbers.
Those are just numbers. I won't give you that. He is a math guy.
Yeah.
He's the guy that sells the hats with math on it.
Can I give you some other numbers?
Please.
Yeah, let's pull these numbers up, please. I want to show you some other, what we used to call facts. In an average year in the U.S., there are just over 31,000 homicides, suicides, or accidental shootings in the U.S., resulting of around 15,000 deaths per year. This is from the Journal of Criminal Law, by the way, and a CDC stat. However, private citizens use firearms for self-defense between 800,000 and 2.5 million times a year.
Wow.
Of the defensive gun uses by private citizens in the U.S. every year, between 80,000 and 200,000 of those involve women using a firearm to defend herself from a sexual assault. According to the European Commission report, despite having some of the most restrictive firearm laws among Western democracies, the United Kingdom has a violent crime rate that is more than 4 times that of the U.S. The UK population suffers 2,034 violent crimes for every 100,000 citizens. In the U.S., we only endure 466 per 100,000. During mass shooting events in the U.S., the average number of deaths when the police end the mass shooting is 14.3. However, the average number of dead when a private citizen with a gun ends the mass shooting is 2.3. So if you're waiting for the police to arrive to stop a mass shooter, 6 times more people will die. What the hell are we doing? Police officers from federal to local levels kill an average of 606 criminals per year. Private citizens using firearms in self-defense kill 1,527. So it's over twice the amount killed by people using a firearm in self-defense. How come we don't hear those stories? How come we all know how many people the police kill? If I would have said it was 600 people a year, no one would believe you. No one would believe you that it was 600 people a year. Okay? That's amazing in a country of 330 million people. But more than twice that number are killed by private citizens in self-defense, and you don't hear anything about that. Why is that? Because they're skewing all of the numbers. When they talk about 250 mass shootings in America, mass shootings now are defined by those on the uber left as 2.3 people killed. Okay? So that is you and someone else, and this is injured or killed. If I shoot you and myself, 2 or more, that's a mass shooting. No, that's a duel. That's a drug deal gone bad. That is a lot of different things. They're claiming it's white supremacy. Well, if you look at the 250 shootings, about 80% of those shootings are Hispanic or black in crime, in gangs, okay? It's gang crime, 80% of that. If you want to say it's white supremacy, well, let's look at the mass shootings. When you think of mass shootings, you think of like 10 people or more, right? Not 2. Mass shootings, you look at those, that number now is down to 6. And half of those, 3, are perpetrated by a minority. So where is the white supremacy thing? Where is all of this coming? If you want to talk about a country being angry at each other over race, oh, that's happening. And we keep picking at the scab. Nobody's looking to heal that. We're picking at the scab. And when you have a media and everyone else so determined to paint the white man or the black man as the bad guy all the time, you're gonna stir up more and more anger.
Yeah. I'm going to go out on a limb and say that you are not in favor of these red flag laws being floated.
Gosh. It is the beginning of the end. It's the beginning of the end. Has anybody been divorced in the audience? Out of the people who have been divorced, do you know anybody who's been divorced and has a vindictive ex or a vindictive family?
Always believe all women.
Does anyone? Yeah. Does anyone?
What are you trying to say? It's the woman who's the vindictive one?
Right. Does anyone know of a family member who they just can't speak to anymore because you're a supporter of Trump? Or you're not a supporter of Trump. But in this case, you're a supporter of Trump. They can't speak to you. And the fact that you have a gun proves to them that you are unhinged. Now, that person in your own family or that person in your ex's family or your ex can call and say, hey, by the way, I think they're unhinged. I think they should not have a gun. You now are red flagged, and forever that will be on your record. That's America? That's justice? That's what the GOP stands for? Drop the P. And just go away from the Republicans. Get as far away from them as you can.
Aaron, your reaction to the Democrats' talking points on guns?
One thing you see, and it's similar with gun control, it's similar with abortion, is these talking points rely on being unclear about terminology and what it means. So you say mass shooting. Does that mean 2 people? Does that mean 10 people?
Right.
You say,
Assault rifle.
Assault weapons. What does that mean? And so it relies on these terms that spark emotion, but they don't really mean anything. So you don't really have to back it up. You don't really have to defend it. It's hard to pin it down and attack it. And that's why it's important for us when we're reporting on these things and talking about these things. We have to be specific. We have to be clear in our rebuttals of these things to educate people, to let them know that these narratives about mass shootings are not accurate because they don't include gang violence. They don't include the shootings that are happening every single weekend in multiple cities around the country.
That nobody seems to care about.
Yeah.
Rarely.
Yeah.
And these things are being used to infringe on rights with things like potential red flag laws that, like you said, Republicans are even starting to sort of show support for, whether that's based on emotion, politics, or whatever the case may be in the wake of these mass shootings. But we can't let these decisions be made about infringing constitutional rights come from unclear terms, vague terms that don't really mean anything.
I had a problem with Donald Trump when he was running and he said, I am the only one that can fix these problems. I thought that was a little arrogant. Okay.
Well, now what set you off on that? Because I don't pick it up at all.
Right. So Elizabeth Warren came out with a policy that says that she will stop 80% of the shootings and the shooting deaths. 80% by using her tax policies. You want to talk about arrogance? That's either unhinged arrogance or just unhinged.
He's a freaking weird mass shooter who's like, I was going to kill a bunch of people, but the tax on those bullets are just too high. It's too high. I had to stop.
Convictions are done.
Yeah. I was going to let them all live their lives now. That is a bizarre, nonsensical thing. I mean, I can't remember which paper it was at the Times, the Post did a thing where they said, since 1965, here's all the list of all the people who died. And they gave this really long list. And obviously it was just to show, like, we won't do anything, we won't take action. All these mass shootings keep happening. And when you break it down to their own numbers, I think it's 22 people per year die in mass shootings. Look, I want that number to be 0, just like anything else. But like in a country of 330 million people, how are you going to micromanage a situation where one person dies every other week? It's impossible.
They don't have this problem in Australia.
Yeah, well, they do. And you want to go through those ratios, we can do all that. But like, it's not.
I have to tell you, I got a lot to say about Australia and their frickin' gun control.
Ooh, all right. Back in a minute.
We didn't even need to show up today. We should just let him go. Just let him go. He's here. He's been off for 2 weeks.
He's excited to be back. All right, we've got a lot more to come in overtime. Glenn apparently has some stuff
I've got
to share
some things to say.
about Australia.
Yeah, and the gun control thing.
Yes, so we've got a lot more to come. Also, new rules under the Trump administration is going to further restrict legal immigration. He's getting a lot of heat for this. I really want to get, gentlemen, your take on this new rule. And Jessica Yaniv, we've got to talk about her. We've got to talk about her. No, I am going to get you started, Glenn. That's what I'm going to do.
She has a penis and a period, apparently. You should see a doctor.
That sounds awful.
A lot more to come. BlazeTV.com.